I want to begin by echoing some of Supervisor Holmes' comments. It's always a little bit frustrating for me in these public meetings to see so many people come out who I haven't spoken to. And I did have the opportunity to either meet with or speak with, I think, 6 of the people who spoke today, and it was very useful for me, and I think it was useful for them to have those conversations. I think it's particularly frustrating for me because there are a few folks in the audience who were at a public meeting that I was at just a couple of weeks ago where I said, the most critical thing you can do if you want to affect the outcome is to have meetings with all the supervisors and meet with them face to face. Now, I can't speak for the other supervisors, but that didn't happen. And that's frustrating for me because unless I know that there's a problem, that there's an issue, I can't work to help you address it. And that goes for the child care center, it goes for the bakery. When we don't hear from people, honestly, our expectation is you're satisfied with how the process is going. So it's really incumbent upon people. I see people shaking their heads, and I totally get that you're not satisfied, but if we don't hear from you,
we didn't know.
Yeah, and you know, that's incredibly frustrating. I get it. But it's probably equally frustrating for members of this board to see all these new faces and hear these, you know, what appear to us to be new issues that are being raised because we haven't heard them until today. It's not a value judgment, it's just sort of how things stand. Just as a little bit of background, my approach to this whole question about Costco coming forward and negotiating the terms has really been based around 2 things. One is making sure that we maximize benefits to the taxpayers as well as minimizing the impact. But also the question about, you know, is the county taking advantage of our position as the property owner in negotiating terms to create an unfair competition with private business. So that's really how I've been viewing this process throughout about these last 2 years. Before I get to my specific concerns about that, one of the things that I did want to mention is that I had asked our facility services department and a few other folks earlier, you know, is there a way to reconfigure the parking lot so that the meter could stay? I think there is a way to do that. I don't know if Costco would be willing to do that. I don't know if my fellow board members would be willing to do that. But, you know, it is certainly a question that I think is worth asking and considering. Now, my real caveat on that is if that could be achieved, I think it would be incumbent upon the private entity to take over complete management of that building, do the seismic retrofits, do the upgrades, pay the insurance, pay the liability, do all the management and repair of that building. Because frankly, I don't think it's a legitimate ask to say to the county, please underwrite one private business to the detriment of the others. So just as a little bit of background, I do think there's a possibility, but it would really involve Music and More and the folks here in support of Music and More stepping up to fill that role. So in terms of the terms, sorry, one word in 2 different fashions there. I have done a little bit of research on my own on the ground lease rates, and I don't actually agree with staff that what's coming forward is an appropriate market rate. I think it's a little low. It's based on conversations I've had with the Vice President at CB, Richard Ellis, who has experience in big box stores, including ground leasing some of them. So I'm very concerned about that. I'm very concerned about the 10% increase after 10 years. It would go into effect in the 11th year. The term agreement initially would be 20 years. So what that actually could mean is should Costco decide after, you know, we're coming up on the 20 years that they did not want to renew the lease for the extended periods, Costco would have had the opportunity to operate on that location for 20 years with only a 10% increase. And that concerns me. I don't think that's appropriate. And don't get me wrong, I'm actually a huge fan of Costco. I'm a card-carrying Costco member, shop there a lot, would love to see them. I'm just not convinced that these terms serve either the county or the taxpayers in the county. So I will say that if after continuing negotiations, some of these concerns are resolved and addressed to to my satisfaction, I may very well move forward with supporting the facility there and supporting the agreement, but as things stand today, I'm not going to be able to. So thank you.
All right. I am going to make just some brief comments. I appreciate everything that's been said here. I know on a couple of things that were mentioned. Government and people that govern are elected to make decisions, and there was a comment made with regards to why there wasn't a whole lot of transparency in the negotiations of this lease. Well, that's kind of a facility of the governmental process. We're now presenting to you those terms of what we realize from those discussions, and that's where we have the opportunity to comment on those. And moving forward, one of the first questions that I did ask of our facility services director is this the end of the road? The bulldozers coming in, things coming down. And what was your answer? No. Correct. This is just kind of a starting point for a process that's moving forward. It's not going to get completed in 6 months, but actually take a considerable amount of time to get an EIR done. There's going to be a considerable amount of public input moving forward with regards to the necessary things that are comprised in an EIR. I do share some of the concerns that Supervisor Montgomery has, and part of that for me is because a lot of the negotiating took place before I ever became on the Board of Supervisors. I have a certain set way of negotiating my things in life, and the agreement as it is, I think we've made a lot of headway, and it is at that point where I think it does pass the smell test for me, at least at this juncture. But that being said, I think there is still a lot of room to have discussions with regards to preserving what can be done to address and talk about the concerns that we have about this the theater, which I think are important and are going to be very important for our relationship with Costco moving forward. So that's my concern. So that being said, again, the proof is in the pudding moving forward with the EIR and the site plan and all those other kinds of things. There will be opportunity for the public to weigh in on those concerns as they come out, or when the NOP comes out to provide commentary on what we should look at, or should be some of the things that we look at in the notice of preparation. So that being said, I'm going to bring that back to the board for action that we take. Robert?
Make a couple comments too.
Sure, go ahead.
So not long after I came to the board did an exhaustive update of our master facilities plan. Kirk and I sat through that, and in it, just so the public knows, there was a lengthy discussion about how much the DeWitt facility site we would need over the long run, and even a build out of the county. And it identified clearly that there would be surplus properties that we would never need, and therefore what should the board do with those properties. So based on some elements that were highlighted here today in our comments, the board directed staff to proceed with using those facilities to the best return for all of the taxpayers of all of the county, and not to the benefit of any particular business or group of businesses. We understand and understood from the beginning that there would be some inconveniences and dislocations and issues that we would have to weave our way through as we went through that process over time, and sure enough, here we are. But that there is an opportunity in front of us for all of the taxpayers that relates to this release. A couple of key premises that the board way back then directed as it related to staff in terms of policy was that we did not want to undercut the market, because we thought that would be inappropriate for government, so that our lease should be at market, and if there are arguments to that, I'm concerned about that, and I'm receptive to hearing those arguments as we continue this process. And in addition, if we were going to get into this business of trying to return taxpayers' revenues to them at the highest rate, then we should do it again as a business would, and to the benefit of all the taxpayers. So I'm open to any and all concerns as we move forward. I'm open to having conversations about the potential of maybe preserving the theater site, keeping in mind that our preeminent goal here is to make sure that we use the resource that we have to the maximum benefit of the taxpayers of Placer County in total. Thanks.
property at that time came to me and said, well, sorry, Jim, we're going to tear your building down, you're going to have to find another location. And so I put a business plan into place, and actually I found another location. It wasn't easy, I was, still wet behind the ears, but I put something together, and fortunately it worked out for me. It wasn't easy, but I was able to succeed, and my business remained for 29 years. So I understand the concern and the angst of having a business. But in the long run, I'm going to go ahead and support this, and I'd like to make a motion to approve the key business and financial terms for the option to ground lease and ground lease between the county of Placer and Costco Wholesale Corporation. 2, authorize the Director of Facility Services or designee to execute the real estate lease services and property development agreement between the county of Placer and Conkey Real Estate Development at a cost not to exceed $937,500 in net county cost. And 3, authorize the Director of Facility Services or designee to execute the site access and negotiating agreement between the county and Costco Wholesale Corporation. And I also want to add that this is just the beginning of a step. This will be heard through planning department, all of our municipal advisory councils that are affected, and also the planning commission.
And I just want to point out that I want to make sure the board that the environmental findings for the specific actions before the board are fully consistent with SEQA as interpreted by both the Terra case by the California Supreme Court and by the more recent case, Court of Appeal case, Cedar Fair versus City of Santa Clara.
Great, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. We will now move to our item 7B, surplus property sale. Director Dietrich.
Hi.
Chairman, members of the board, Lauren Morris, property manager, property facility services. Here today with questions, should you have any, or installation Today, property facility services is requesting our board surplus property sale located at 505